Hello, I'm Jennifer Soran Boon, and this is the Unshackling Podcast, the podcast to empower women to heal, break free, and shine their lights in this world, liberating you from the unseen but felt shackles of being a woman in this time that hold you stuck and yearning for freedom, with inspirational conversations and soul-nourishing tools to ignite you back onto your soul path with love. Join me and break free. Hey, I want to talk to you this month on Unshackling about dancing to the beat of your own drum and learning how to dance to the beat of your own drum. This idea for the podcast came about actually while I was on the loo. There is something that we all need to do about letting go of being in a group and listening to what society expects of us, and instead tuning into our own drum, our own rhythm, our own sense of what we feel we want to be and who we want to become. And that comes from the inner work. So I want to talk to you about dancing to your own drum beat and what that looks like and how I feel we reach that, all of us. So, when I say about dancing to your own drum beat, it makes me think about last week. I went on a breath work day, yet I really noticed how obvious it was that I felt different and was different to the other people in the group. I noticed that I was happy to go off and do my own thing at lunchtime. I was friendly, but I also didn't feel the need to have conversations. I noticed that I had different interests, and some of the things that I was saying, talking about unshackling women, seemed surprising for the people who were there, and it didn't invoke conversation. It shut conversations down, unfortunately. Um, I dressed differently and I set boundaries differently. And I guess what it did is it really highlighted being with different people and not my lovely soul family and my lovely soul sisters. It really highlighted to me how different at points that I feel in this world, but how I have developed a strong sense of myself to be okay with being able to not be in the group and people pleasing and letting go of what others think of me. So when I talk about dancing to the beat of my own drum, I'm thinking about the letting go of what others think. Now, this is super tricky, and I feel a main thing here is developing a strong sense of worth and developing confidence within yourself. Also, I feel there's the letting go of people pleasing and pleasing others. We are conditioned in our society to please others. We are conditioned, especially as women, to believe that we are here to make everybody feel okay. And to part of that is also going along with what the group want us to behave like and be like. But this means that it's at the sacrifice of connecting into our own selves and our own wisdom and listening and honoring what our own experience is within it. And so I feel that we are conditioned as a society. I feel like when we start seeing that conditioning and realizing that we are people pleasing, our role, our job for ourselves, for our soul, is calling us to start looking at the beliefs, start looking at our self worth so that we can build boundaries, decide if we want to consciously be a people pleaser or if we want to step away and honor ourselves in a different way by setting boundaries and setting ways of not people pleasing instead. Dancing to our own drum is around setting our own boundaries and knowing our own rhythm within that to be comfortable enough to say what does and doesn't work for us. This and the letting go of people pleasing and the letting go of what others think, I feel all of these come down to inner work. Every time, inner work. And I will explain more about what aspects of inner work I feel create this ripe environment to be able to dance to your own drum beat. Um, Throughout our life, we are likely to receive feedback. And again, there is a level of discernment within that when we show up differently in the world, it creates uncomfortableness at the most gentlest way of looking at it, uncomfortableness within others because we are showing up from a place of being different, and that threatens, on some level, people's existence of what is and isn't acceptable in the world. Now, what I believe is that when we dance to the beat of our own drum, we hear that feedback and we listen and we take it on board and we look at it through the eyes of discernment. We look at it and figure out, is this relevant? Is this not relevant? And this is something around growing and tuning into our own compass, not the compass of those around us, not the noise of from those around us, but listening to what feels right within ourselves. So there is within all of this, I feel a massive piece of empowerment, a massive piece of connecting to our inner journey and our inner world. So to get to the place of dancing to your own drum, to be able to set your own boundaries, to be able to dress how what feels comfortable for you and what feels like it speaks to your soul, to be able to not people please, to be able to let go of what other people think. All I feel comes from a place of developing a strong sense of self. When we get the foundations right within us, we we become sturdy. And with that sturdiness, we can take on so much more in our lives, but not take on like extra jobs and extra work, but more take on, we have more of a bandwidth within ourselves to be able to handle being different and being ourselves and being who we're here to be. I feel a starting point for this would be to start with self love. You know, when we love ourselves and we start loving ourselves and we show up for ourselves and show compassion to ourselves and kindness to ourselves, when we talk to ourselves differently, when we listen to the inner voices within ourselves and we pay more attention to the cheerleading parts, the parts that really want the best for us, the kind parts, that is the starting point, I feel, for self love. We start showing up for ourselves differently when we consciously choose to. We start saying no and listening to what we do and don't want within ourselves and making choices accordingly that feel right for us. I think society conditions us to feel that, to believe that we are selfish if we are thinking about ourselves, if we are wanting the best for ourselves, if we love ourselves, it's seen as being selfish. My belief is that we need to love ourselves to truly, truly love, to truly love others. We need to love ourselves first because we only then give from a place of fullness rather than a place of resentment and exhaustion and a place of lack. And I want for you to give to yourself and to love yourself enough to want the best for yourself. Now, where I started on my journey of self love was mirror work, looking in the mirror, saying I love you to myself and repeating that and being aware of any discomfort that came up within. It was starting to not just look at myself from a place of faults and all the things wrong with me, but actually starting to think, what what do I feel are my strengths? What am I good at? What's good within me? And what am I proud of that I do? And when I started really paying attention to the things that I felt proud of myself, and not for the sake of other people and what other people saw was good in me, but for the sake of me, it really helped me start seeing myself from a different angle, from a different view, not of one that needed to change and grow, which we all need to change and grow, but not one that was full of not one that was full of problems and needed to be mended and fixed, but actually somebody who was 360. I had the good bits and bad bits, but actually compassionately loving all of those bits and parts of me. Often as women, when we think of our good things, looks come up as a top thing because we are conditioned to believe that our looks are what we're here for. And I want you to, when you're looking at the self love piece, really bring compassion and kindness to you and your body. We as women are conditioned to believe that there was one type of female body, and it's a body that none of us can achieve. And unless we are incredibly miserable and spend hours and hours trying to focus and get it. And what I have learned along the way is that my appearance, it means diddly squat, is the expression that comes through. It means nothing. What I look like really is a reflection of what I'm doing on the inner work. We can spend all our money on lotions and potions and all the rest of it, and great, fine, that's all of our choices on what we do. But the real glow, the real glow that we get is when we turn that focus inwards, when we heal the things that need healing within us, the traumas, the upsets, the conditioning, the beliefs that are just not ours, and healing all of those bits. So, self worth, self love is a super important thing. And I think when we start loving ourselves, then we start wanting more for ourselves. And then we start building our self worth from that. We say no to things that don't work for us. And we say yes to things that do work for us. I feel when we have a strong sense of self worth, when we have a strong sense of self love, um, it really helps us on our journey in looking at the other parts within us that can be trickier, such as healing the traumas, healing the painful bits, healing the bits in our shadow that can feel really icky and like we just don't want to go there. The bits that make us feel ashamed, the bits that make us feel sad, the bits that make us feel angry. They're the bits that are parts of us that need love and need healing. But we need a strong reservoir of love for ourselves and compassion for ourselves to be able to delve into that space. And when we start unpacking all of those aspects, then we start looking at our life through a different lens and our journey through a different lens, and we start having more kindness and compassion to ourselves and undoing what often is not our conditioning, our beliefs, and it helps clear out and remove these layers that stop us shining our light. So when we've done the self-worth, when we're building our self-worth up, when we're building our self-love, when we're healing all of the traumas, and what I would say with healing traumas, working through with a journal, working with a really good therapist, working through doing emotional freedom technique, tapping. Find your way. There is no one path that works for everybody. Thank goodness. There are so many paths, and it's tuning into your inner journey and what feels right. Where are you feeling the curiosity to explore? And it's going there and honoring that. I feel from a coaching background, values are really important as well, and understanding and knowing what your values are. When we know our values, it helps us form our sense of self so that we really understand what is it that I believe in? What is it that I feel is really important as my compass in my life? So values are kind of like our compass. When we live by our values, our life becomes like richer. It becomes more resonance. It becomes not richer money wise, but richer with the joy within it because we are following our values, and that is really, really important. To find out your values, one way would be to think about if money was no object, what would you do? What would you do as a job? What would you do and spend? How would you spend your days? And then really looking at what is it within that 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 I'm really noticing as a value of mine. You could also look to see what makes you feel angry because often the anger comes from a value that's been trodden on. So again, it's looking at that information and piecing together a sense of who you are. And when we piece together a sense of who we are, when we heal ourselves, we start getting stronger within ourselves with what we do and we don't want. And that helps build our sense of self, and that helps build our ability to have the strength and the confidence to dance to our own drum. Um, our intuition is totally key as well. So, intuition, the inner nudges that you're getting, it's being aware of them, listening to them, honoring them, and following them. And when you start tapping in and tuning into that resource, it really provides um, a rich source of guidance in your life. And to do that, maybe having a little journal, keeping a little notebook of when you get nudges and did you follow it? Did you not follow it? Um, and maybe following the smaller nudges. Start off small if you feel worried about following it. Also, become aware of how the nudges come through. I mean, this is another thing. I often get a lot of knowing that comes through, direct knowing that comes through to me with information. I also get images that will come into my third eye. I'll also get songs with messages within it. We can get a variety of different ways that information comes through to us from our intuition, but also from the universe, from our guides. And our job is to build strength and sturdiness in listening to it and honoring it so that we can be okay in our own skin, be okay with following ourselves and doing that. So I feel another element to all of this is trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting ourselves that we have the answers. And if we don't, we can trust the universe that the universe is having the best path for us, the one that gives us the most soul growth and soul development. So trust is another key thing. How to grow trust? I feel looking back at your life and seeing how things have worked out and seeing the synchronicities and how there has been like a little rhythm or dance along the ocean or the stream of life, and noticing the synchronicities. I think when we look back and we reflect, it really helps us see that our lives are divinely guided, and that gives a level of trust within it all to know that it's okay. We can let go of the fear. It will be okay. So, confidence is another thing. So, when we are wanting to dance to our own beat of our own drum more, it can be really hard to feel confident enough to do that. It can be really hard to go against the norm, and it can be really hard to go against what the group is doing and what's socially expected of us. But When we build our sense of self, when we know who we are and we learn about who we are and we understand it, we get more confidence. And that confidence grows within us at being not the same as others and stepping into our own space, partly because it feels too uncomfortable to pretend or be anything else other than who we really are, our hearts and souls. When we know ourselves and we put in that work and we get to know about us, we want more for ourselves. And that means that we don't want to always be masking, we don't want to always be people pleasing. So, by doing all of that inner work, we become more able to build boundaries. When we have a strong sense of self, we are less willing to put up with things. We're less willing to accept how things are. And we're more able to say, no, I'm not going to have that. And I'm not going to do this. Or, yes, I want to do that. We know ourselves. We know what works for ourselves and we know what doesn't. And that all helps us walk our own walk, dance to the beat of our own drum. It helps us be who we're here to be. And that being who we're here to be, that is what our soul signed up for. Our soul didn't sign up for us to be not knowing who we are. Our soul signed up for us to really get to know ourselves and to grow and evolve and change and strip back the layers of conforming and trauma so that we can shine our brightest lights in this world. So I hope this, on some level, has helped you with your life. And some questions that I would ask yourself around this would be, where in my life am I not dancing to the beat of my own drum? Where do I play small? What would help me let go of what others think? In what ways do I people please? What beliefs do I have about me not being good enough? My values are dot, dot, dot. Doing blank will make me realize how much I love myself. Also, asking yourself, how would my life be different if I danced to the beat of my own drum? In what ways am I shackling myself to conforming when my soul and my self just want to be free? What ways do I feel within myself are ways that I can unshackle myself from this? Okay, I hope this helps. Until next month, love and liberation to you. That's it for another month. I hope this ignited you in some way to create change in your life. Take a look at my Instagram, jennifer.soran.boon, or website www.jennifersoranboon.com for more information. Until next time, love and liberation to you.